president also, offered assistance, Nigerian assistance to Burkina Faso with their elections.
President Muhammadu Buhari hosts his counterpart from Burkina Faso, also signs into law the Nigeria Police Bill 2020.
Assist citizens, civil societies, organizations and journalists as well as general public to monitoring recovered assets and disposal of assets.
Federal government launches central database for asset recovery. An update on forthcoming Edo State governorship election fixed for Saturday. Hello, good evening, and many thanks for being with us here on NTA Network News. I am Joseph Johnson. Hingano John Adams is in Lagos, while Obehi Otobo Apresai is joining us from Benin. Let's start off by informing you that Nigeria says it will do everything within the limits of her resources towards supporting the consolidation of democracy in the West African sub-region. President Muhammadu Buhari made the pledge while playing host to his Burkina Faso counterpart, President Marc Christian Kabore, who was on a one-day official visit to Nigeria. State House correspondent Adam Osama reports.
President Marc Christian Kabore of Burkina Faso is the second foreign leader to visit Nigeria since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic in February this year. Burkina Faso is one of the 5 countries in the sub-region scheduled to hold elections before the year runs out. Nigeria, President Buhari said, is keeping tabs on situations in such countries, saying he knows the ones that are calm and those where there have been unfortunate casualties, as explained by Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyama after the closed-door meeting.
The President said, yes, it was unfortunate about the loss of lives in Guinea, and that the other elections that were taking place, that things were looking good for in Niger. There's going to be a change of government there, but the need to keep an eye out on the other elections and to make sure that they were peaceful, first and foremost. And the President also, offered assistance, Nigerian assistance to Burkina Faso with their elections, and was committed to do anything necessary to make sure that those passed off peacefully and in an inclusive and democratic manner.
The high-level discussions also centered on crucial sub-regional issues, especially Nigeria's border closure, as well as the reported trade difficulties amongst Nigeria, Ghana, Republic of Benin, and Niger. President Christian Kabore is the chairman of the Economic and Trade Liberalization Scheme of ECOWAS.
This is the scheme of ECOWAS, that deals with free movement, the implementation of the free movement of peoples and goods across ECOWAS. So he was also keen to know what the situation was with regards to border closures and, how that is impacting on Nigeria, Benin, Niger and Ghana. Mr. President, restated Nigeria's commitment to do everything possible to stabilize the sub-region and facilitate, inter-community trade.
Nigeria and Burkina Faso has a binational commission as a framework for developing highly beneficial projects and economic cooperation between the two countries. The last time the commission met was in 2017. During the meeting, President Christian Kabore commended the Nigerian leader for the strong leadership and support displayed in his capacity as chairman of COVID-19 response in West Africa.
He appreciated very much Nigeria's leadership and Mr. President's leadership within the West African sub-region and wanted him to continue in that vein. He also talked about the single currency of ECOWAS, to be on the same page as Mr. President on the economic and single currency issue, to be on the same page with Mr. President on the security challenges, terrorism.
On the situation in Mali, the two leaders expressed the hope that the summit held in Accra, Ghana on Tuesday would yield positive results towards achieving the desired cohesion across the West African sub-region. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has signed into law the Nigeria Police Bill 2020. In a memo dated September 16, 2020, the President communicated his assent to the bill to the National Assembly through the clerk of the legislature. The act repeals the Police Act 2004, provides for a more effective and well-organized police force driven by the principles of transparency and accountability in its operations and management of its resources. Similarly, the Act establishes an appropriate funding framework for the police in line with what is obtainable in other federal government key institutions. The bill equally enhances professionalism in the force through increased training opportunities and creates an enduring cooperation and partnership between the police force and communities in maintaining peace and combating crimes nationwide. And let's quickly talk a little more on the bill now, as I'm now being joined by our former Commissioner of Police, FCT, Lawrence Alobi. You're welcome to NTA Network News.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
All right, so just very quickly, let's know what does this bill portend for the police force?
It's really very heartwarming in the sense that I happen to be among those who were the National Assembly during the public hearing and also even the technical committee that drafted the bill. And I'm happy that Mr. President actually lived up to his oath of office as provided under section 14 of the Constitution, which says that security and the well-being of the citizens shall be the prime purpose of government. Not too long ago, Mr. President also approved the release of some billions to the police for community policing. In fact, these two remarkable actions by Mr. President is actually a milestone contribution to effective policing, even the welfare of the people. Like policing is knowledge driven, and with training and capacity building, sharing information, community participation, community support, and so forth. It will actually promote transparency, accountability, professionalism. You see, outside the shore of this country, Nigerian police have always excelled, and what Mr. President now has actually given that nod to actually motivate them. Make sure that in Nigerian police, we have Nigerian police of our dream that actually transform the society, promote peace and security, and be a police that we can be proud of, that will give us a sense of pride as a nation. So I really want to commend Mr. President and also commend the General Police Adamu for this outstanding achievement. It's only through this tenure that we've got these two milestone achievements in terms of community policing and in terms of this police act. This is wonderful. I think police officers and men should also be glad with Mr. President, and they should put in their best to achieve the best for the country.
All right, so what would be your advice on its implementation?
Implementation is one interest, is that not just now the bill being, the act being signed by Mr. President, but it has to be implemented to the letter in terms of, like you mentioned, about transparency, accountability, training, the welfare of the men, and ensure the community building that is promoting a synergized relationship between the police and the public. These are all the areas, the key areas that need to be addressed. And the police also should see it, and the IG should go a step further. Not only that for this act to be sanctioned by Mr. President, but also that the police officers and men also key into it. Let them know what they ought to do, what they ought to be. That is what is put of them. Let them see that's a challenge, and also see putting their best effort to achieve the best result for this country.
Thank you very much, former Commissioner of Police, FCT, Lawrence Alobi. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah. All right, so let's talk a little more about other matters now for you. President Muhammadu Buhari has advised political parties, candidates and security agents to behave responsibly in the forthcoming Edo State governorship elections. The president, in a message to voters, political parties, election officials and security personnel, reiterated his commitment to free and fair elections and the need for other actors to abide by the rules. President Buhari expressed his desire for the democratic standards in the country raised higher at every level. But these cannot be achieved when politicians resort to do-or-die methods to gain power. He noted that do-or-die mentality to politics is a threat to free and fair elections and appealed to all political parties and their candidates to behave peacefully and respect law and order. Still talking security, the Inspector General of Police, IGP Mohammed Adamu, has ordered the restriction of vehicular movement from 11:59 p.m. on Friday, 18th September 2020 to 6 p.m. on Saturday, 19th September 2020, in an effort to ensure public order and safety during the forthcoming Edo gubernatorial election this Saturday. The IGP notes that the restriction order is informed by the need to prevent the free-flow circulation and use of illicit arms and hard drugs, and checkmate the movement of political thugs and other criminally minded individuals, especially from contiguous states, from hijacking and disrupting the electoral processes, noting that the police and other security agencies have been sufficiently mobilized to provide a conducive environment for the election. Meanwhile, the Corps Marshal Federal Road Safety Corps, Dr. Boboyo Yeyemi, has ordered operatives of the Corps drafted to cover the election to collaborate with the Nigeria Police Force and other sister agencies in the enforcement of restrictions on vehicular movement. The Corps personnel drafted to cover the election has equally been mandated to clear obstructions from the roads, carry out rescue operations in case of emergencies, maintain orderliness in polling booths, and certified INEC vehicles that will be used to convey electoral marchers. Obey is ready for us in Benin now, as Edo State is preparing for governorship election this Saturday. Obey, what's the update?
Hello, Joseph. Edo governorship election is a couple of hours away, and the electorate are speaking on their expectations. Okochuka Ona brings us a situation report.
The much anticipated governorship election in Edo State is this Saturday, and political activities are gradually winding down. Political parties and their candidates are currently carrying out last-minute strategies on how to outsmart one another and come out successfully at the polls. The electorates are not left out in this final preparation, and they say they are ready to use their PVCs for the victory of their preferred candidates.
Most important thing for the election to be credible, the election to be transparent, the election to be seen as not do or die at first. That's the way I look at it. But let the will of God prevail.
We know the right person to give our vote to, so I'm prepared. I hope others who want the best from this state, who want the best for this state, are equally prepared.
They also expressed less worry about the level of security in ensuring violence-free election for a credible candidate to emerge.
Security is already in the state because we have been able to outgrow violence. Benin youths they have their awareness already that they need to go to their polling booth and vote.
They should do this election with peace and harmony. There's no fight. Like some people now, they just carry this election for head. The election will not be do or die affair.
Meanwhile, economic activities have heightened at the city center, and movement of people into the state has increased ahead of the governorship election. In Benin, Ogochkuka Ona, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Inter-Party Advisory Council, Nigeria, IPAC, is appealing to Edos to shun electoral violence as they exercise their franchise this Saturday. Agatha Igwareojo reports that the body made the appeal while briefing newsmen in Benin City.
It is a couple of hours to the Edo State governorship election, and key players in the electoral process are set for it. The Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, is one of the stakeholders suing for a free, fair and peaceful conduct of the election. In the past few days, the national executives of the body have been in Benin sensitizing the people to the need to shun violence and come out and vote. National Secretary of IPAC, Yusuf Dantali, told newsmen that with the preparations made so far by key players, he is optimistic of a hitch-free election.
Of every indication, it's obvious that Edo people are responsible. They were well received, well attended to, and they listened to us. And I believe with what we have seen, there's going to be a very good conduct, and they will work in harmony with INEC and the security agency to produce the next governor of Edo State.
The group hopes that as people warm up to exercise their franchise this Saturday, the governorship election will be devoid of violence. In Benin, Agatha Egwareojo, NTA News.
And that's it from Benin. Joseph, it's over to you for more on the news.
Obey from our Benin Network Center there. As the federal government takes hard decisions to reopen the economy, even while the coronavirus pandemic is still posing huge challenge, Nigerians are advised to adhere strictly to established protocol in response to the COVID-19. And as the nation prepares for schools resumption, 15 selected states are to benefit from the Global Partnership for Education funding to implement the National Education Plan on COVID-19. These are some of the deliberations at the National Economic Council meeting this Thursday. State House correspondent Jido Nefade reports.
So the strongest weapon we have, even before we get to healthcare workers, are ourselves. So I really encourage all Nigerians to keep doing what we need to do.
Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, Chikwe Ihekwazo, warning on potential danger that may be lurking in the downward trend in the number of infections being experienced across the states in Nigeria. The Director General, during his presentation at the National Economic Council meeting, commends state for taking actions to curtail the COVID-19 pandemic, but says Nigerians must not take this for granted.
On the strikes and agitation for strikes among healthcare workers, there's no doubt about it. This will really provide a real challenge to our country, to our health security, to our existence. So I really keep appealing, like our leaders have done, to healthcare workers. Yes, there are challenges for every Nigerian, but please, in the middle of a war is not really the time to go on strikes.
On preparation for reopening of schools, the Minister of Education gave a broad overview of the state of the education sector in the country and look forward to how the nation can continue to educate the people in this difficult time. Governor Ahmed El-Rufai of Kaduna State, while briefing the press on this, says Abia, Anambra, Akwa Ibom, Benue, Ebonyi, Jigawa, Kaduna, Katsina, Kebbi, Kano, Nasarawa, Niger, Plateau, Sokoto, and Zamfara states are to benefit from the Global Partnership for Education funding, which are the states that met 2 of the 3 criteria set by the donors.
Accelerating and strengthening the management of an electronic digital identity management system for all Nigerians. This will aid easy enrollment, retention and completion of learners at all levels, as well as curb and eliminate fraud, forgery, and alteration of certificates.
The governors say that they are in support of these schools' resumptions and that they are looking forward towards working with the federal government so that schools can be reopened and keep the education sector running.
Urgent action to ensure that dry season farming is provided for. Urgent action is needed to ensure the impact of recurrent flooding are mitigated. Investment in flood prevention infrastructure is paramount, very important.
For the excess crude account, the balance as at yesterday is put at $72 million, 408,743.16 cents.
The virtual National Economic Council meeting was anchored from the office of the Vice President. In the State House, Jude Onifade, NTA News.
And the federal government is set, to consider suggestions and solutions proffered to bring back the lost glory of University of Lagos, UNILAG. Minister of Education Adamu, while receiving the report from a visitation panel constituted by the government to look into the crisis bedeviling the institution, says the university, like any other in the country, is central to the well-being of students and society, and so the government will not fold its arms and watch things get deteriorated in the university.
The visitor of the university, after due consideration of the report, will take a decision on the matter as appropriate in order to restore peace and conducive learning atmosphere in the University of Lagos and the university system as a whole.
Crisis in the university started with the appointment of an acting vice-chancellor after the removal of the previous one by the university's governing council, which led to the composition of a 7-member special visitation panel by government, headed by Professor Tukuru Saad, to look into the crisis and proffer solution. In another development, the Minister Adamu has also received a report of panel on Pan-African University of Science and Technology, established over a decade ago, but was bogged down by ownership and associated challenges, slowing down the pace of development. The minister promised to reposition the institution for the vision it was established. To stay with us here on NTA Network News, we are back in just a moment. You're still watching NTA Network News with me, Joseph Johnson. As part of the federal government's push for accountability and transparency, in its anti-corruption fight, a central database for assets tracing, recovery and management has been launched. Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami unveiled the center in Abuja. Femi Okewo was there and now reports.
It is part of the Central Criminal Justice Information System under the National Anti-Corruption Strategy. The centralized database for storage of recovered assets will provide timely access on all recovered assets within and outside Nigeria. It will also provide adequate record keeping to confirm the status of assets, whether interim, seized, or finally forfeited. Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, said with this database, recovered assets can now more deliberately be built into the nation's annual budgets.
That transparency aspect of it is further re-established and reenacted by the fact that for the first time, recovered assets are now dedicated to particular and specific arrangement and tied to projects.
Because it is a multi-agency collaboration, about 15 heads of government organizations made commitments of cooperation at the launch. They range from the National Assembly, Revenue, Anti-Corruption, and security agencies.
Assist citizens, civil societies, organizations, and journalists, as well as general public, to monitoring recovered assets and disposal of assets.
The database is located at the Ministry of Justice, but will be accessible to information seekers anywhere in the world. In Abuja, Femi Okewo, NTA News.
To the legislature now, where the National Assembly is considering a bill that will extend local content law to the non-oil and gas sector of the economy and create a commission for strict compliance. At a 2-day virtual consultative forum on Nigerian local content law, participants agreed that the extension of local content law to non-oil sector is long overdue. Ignatius Nkwo reports.
One of the major legislative interventions in Nigeria's oil and gas industry is the enactment of Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act in 2010. The act provides for a wide range of local content regime that promotes the patronage of Nigerian products and services by operators in the Nigerian oil and gas industry. 20 years down the line, the National Assembly is proposing a review and enactment of new laws that will ensure that non-oil sector of the Nigerian economy also benefits from the local content law. The National Assembly Joint Committee on Local Content convened a virtual consultative forum, during which participants drawn from various sectors of the Nigerian economy made their submissions.
The station would express input and aspiration of stakeholders.
We're actually at a time for more inward reflection through the enhancement of internal capacity towards productivity and efficiency.
When we look at a lot of countries that have actually progressed, either in the areas of oil and gas or in the areas of mining.
There was a consensus that the bills, when passed into law, will create an enforcement commission, job opportunities, ensure national security and technology transfer.
It's workable, that will give Nigerians the best deal in every critical sector in terms of enhanced participation.
And providing the legal framework for the implementation of local content in other key sectors of the economy.
This law primarily seeks to impose local content on all publicly funded transactions and to strengthen the oil and gas version of the law. Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
A compendium of 35 years' experiences as a civil servant has been documented for posterity by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Interior, Georgina Uheria Arisa. Elizabeth Omori reports that the literary piece titled "To Serve and to be Honored on Merit" captures the importance of public service to national development.
Civil service as a government institution plays a vital role in ensuring that government policies and programs improve the living conditions of the people. To overcome the myriads of challenges and build an enviable civil service, Permanent Secretary, Minister of Interior Georgina Uheria, who started a career at the age of 22, has put her treasured experiences of 35 years in a book.
For you to be able to rise meritoriously, you need to build your capacity to outperform others.
The 25-chapter publication, reviewed by Ibukun Awushika, is a mentoring and knowledge bank for prospective and serving civil servants who intend to change the narratives in the different sectors of the economy.
It's very exciting to know that life doesn't stop now. We need people with the qualities that Georgina has.
It's a good testament of the effectiveness and efficiency of our public institutions, as she is a fully bred product of Nigeria's public educational institutions.
She's a quintessential civil servant, lawyer, diligent, firm.
The book on merit also challenges the family, society, and religious institutions on effective support for women to achieve their goals for national development. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala has qualified for another round of voting for position of Director General of the World Trade Organization. This was stated by the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Otumba Richard Adeniyi Adebayo, on NTA. He said Nigeria is optimistic that the election will be in favor of Nigeria, considering the people of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and support from other member nations.
The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Richard Adeniyi Adebayo, said Nigeria is optimistic that the election will be in favor of the country, considering the pedigree of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and support from other member nations.
Well, it's a good sign. It shows that our candidate is well respected. She has the support of many countries. The people who dropped out because they didn't have support from other international countries. So it shows that we are on track. And we believe that we have a very strong candidate with countries that we have spoken to. We've spoken to many of the countries. I've spoken to my colleagues from many of the countries. I've spoken to ambassadors of many countries, and many of them have professed their support for our candidate. So we are looking good, and we are very optimistic that at the end of the day, our candidate should emerge as the new Director General of WTO.
Currently, Egypt, Moldova and Mexico are out of the race, leaving Nigeria, Kenya, Korea, UK and Saudi Arabia for the second round of elections. If elected, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala will become the first African to head the World Trade Organization. In Abuja, Chimubi Walter Naji, NTA News.
Now, at a critical time, the nation is battling with challenges of insecurity and other tougher situations like the coronavirus pandemic. The utterances of some prominent Nigerians are threatening the continued relative peace and unity of the country. Now, this is prompting concerns from different quarters, with Citizens for Good Governance asked the latest to show discountenance to such uncharitable remarks. Abubakar Usman Akwanga has more.
Reaction is coming against the recent statements by Nigeria's former President Olusegun Obasanjo and the Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka over what the group termed as divisive and inflammatory. Citizens Action for Good Governance says the social status of the personalities in question should promote peace and foster uncommon love and patriotism to the Nigerian vision as laid down by its foundation fathers.
Nigeria is not in a state of disarray nor extinction, as he claims, but President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration has done what other administration could not do for the past 21 years in Nigerian democratic history.
The group underscores government effort at restoring peace to the northeast and advised Nigerians, regardless of the differences they share, to avoid any act that could undermine the security of the country.
This government has put enormous resources to fight all forms of terrorism to stand still, and the effort is still glaring for Nigerians to see and testify. There is massive infrastructural development ongoing across the country despite the dwindling price of oil.
On issues of deregulation of the downstream oil sector and increase in electricity tariff, the group says Nigerians should exercise patience and give the new economic regime time to end the era of artificial demand function that seems to empower only few. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
Well, let's take you to Gombe State, where the state government says it is tackling headlong the problem of environmental degradation, which is threatening the livelihood of its citizens. Governor Inuwa Yahaya said Gombe State has peculiar environment, including desert encroachment, incessant flooding, soil and gully erosion.
Unfortunately, up north here, especially, specifically in Gombe, where we have so far close to 200, in fact more than 200 active gullies. And when I say active, I mean those that are really a threat to means of livelihood that are affecting both the animals and the people that are living in the environment.
A special documentary on the menace of gullies in Gombe State comes up tonight at 10:05 p.m. More positive testimonies are being shared by beneficiaries of the State Employment and Expenditure for Results C4 in Delta State in the ongoing appraisal of the projects across the riverine communities of Delta South Senatorial District of the state. Tessie Coker has the latest on the project inspection by the team from the World Bank and other partners.
Success story of the impact of the State Employment and Expenditure for Results C4 in Delta State has been felt across the length and breadth of the state. Apart from these students beneficiaries, some of these graduates of the automobile engineering at the Technical College of Fagbe in Isoko North local government area.
C4 came and they empowered me with starter pack.
Uzoro Vocational Center has now been equipped with state-of-the-art facilities. C4 also constructed a road with interlocking ties at Uzoro, including this water scheme project at Uroto Uzoro.
When the C4 came in, we were having about 6 departments. They single-handedly built and renovated the catering and event department, the air conditioning, refrigeration, electrical installation department, then the welding department.
Idoko Okbesi Road, Ole, and Ajuwawa Streets in Ole benefited from the construction of drainage and pavement from the project. Others are a police staff quarters and a mono water pump station in Otowe community. At a Bohime community, the C4 also installed a generating set and electricity, as well as the construction of skills acquisition center. Communities from the riverine areas that benefited from the C4 project include Obahuru in Warri North, with the building of a concrete walkway, the purchase of generating sets, and electricity extension.
C4 they are doing a good project for us.
Torogbene in Burutu local government area of Delta State got a concrete bridge to aid their trade.
Many of them have saved, make savings, some even from their savings produce all these table stores.
The project is working assiduously towards concluding and completing all outstanding commitments.
We must come up with a sustainability plan.
In Asaba, Tessie Coker, NTA News.
The federal government is set to ensure that micro, small and medium enterprises negatively impacted by the global pandemic are not allowed to suffer more due to inability to meet up with its financial responsibilities. The Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment said about 1.7 million businesses will be captured by the 75 billion naira federal government MSME's Survival Fund. Chimobi Walter Naji reports.
Committed to lifting over 100 million Nigerians out of poverty within 10 years, the Buhari administration, through the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, in its constant review of the National Industrial Revolution Plan, which expires by the end of the year. This and other issues led to the advocacy visit by the Ministry to the NTA to deepen partnership between the Ministry and the authority in its quest to educate Nigerians in government policies geared towards sustainable development.
We're in the process of putting together, and we're hopeful that before the end of this year it will be ready, an auto policy, because we'll be discussing with various automobile manufacturers who are interested in coming to set up in Nigeria, and they're just waiting for that auto policy to be in place so that they can come and set up here.
With a mandate to foster national unity, cohesion and peace, NTA's Director General, Malam Yakub Ibn Muhammad, reiterated NTA's readiness to partner individuals and organizations working for the actualization of government dreams and policies.
I think the economic sustainability program is key, to ensuring that the effects of the pandemic are minimized. We in NTA will be quite willing to partner with the ministry in ensuring the success of this very laudable program.
The minister noted that one of the things that will ensure sustainable economic growth for Nigeria is embedded in having an attitudinal change among Nigerians on the need to patronize Nigerian-made goods. In Abuja, Chimobi Walter Naji, NTA News.
Let's now turn our attention to Lagos, and here is Ingino with the latest.
Thank you, Joseph. The passage of Petroleum Industry Bill will significantly enhance the optimal performance of Nigeria's oil and gas industry. This was disclosed by Chairman House Committee on Petroleum Resources Upstream, Musa Adar, during an oversight visit of the committee to the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, in Lagos. Annie Daniels has details.
Chairman House Committee on Petroleum Resources Upstream, Musa Adar, said the visit was to have a first-hand information on the activities of the Department of Petroleum Resources. Director DPR, Sarkar Awalu, said DPR is a revenue collection agency for funds accruable to the federal government from the oil and gas industry operations. And in compliance with the Treasury Single Account policy of the federal government, the agency conducts comprehensive quarterly and annual reconciliation of revenue payments to ensure accurate and timely remittance to the Federation account, thereby translating to the generation of over 7 billion naira as revenue to the federal government in the last 7 months.
And look at the interest we have in the ongoing bid process for the marginal field. That really shows that the strategy is working, because we have a tremendous interest and people are really putting. So that really guarantees our process of optimization and seeing through that is a win-win for the investors, for participants, as well as professionals in the industry.
Chairman of the House Committee on Petroleum Resources Upstream, Musa Adar, on behalf of other members, applauded DPR for living up to expectations, even in the face of challenges, promising that the National Assembly will expedite action on the passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill, PIB.
And what he has presented to us in form of compendium as a souvenir to us will guide us to enact more laws, to amend obsolete laws, and to make some amendments of laws that are required to govern the oil and gas industry in this country.
Both parties are optimistic that DPR will surpass its revenue target for the year. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
Talking infrastructure now, contractors working on the maintenance of the third mainland bridge have replaced the fourth expansion joint as effort is being intensified to replace all identified worn-out expansion joints on the first phase. Abolade Salami brings us an update.
The maintenance works being carried out on the third mainland bridge from Adekunle to Adeniji-Adele axis is to ensure that integrity of the bridge is kept intact by replacing all worn-out joints and resurfacing of bad portions on the road.
We are starting now to work in the water because there are three different working. The first one is the joint on top of the bridge, then some repair of the pile cap and some repair of the pile. So We are starting now. We have a barge that is coming.
Although motorists have had to deal with daily traffic congestion, they are coming to terms with the importance of the rehabilitation work.
And as long as there's excellence in managing, the traffic and understanding that it's about both the executors and the general public, then I think we're on track.
Because the way they are telling us that they have already perfect the alternative route for us. But on getting here now, it's not what we are expecting.
As the ongoing repairs and rehabilitation enters its 8th week, the pace of work has visibly improved as the contractors and workers are now more knowledgeable about what to do as the work progresses. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
We now take a break. The news continues shortly.
You're still watching NTA Network News, and we are back in Abuja. Let's update you now on today's PTF briefing, because as more state governments announce the reopening of schools amidst the COVID-19, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 is insisting that COVID-19 guidelines and protocols should not be compromised to prevent a second wave of the pandemic as witnessed in some countries of the world. Mitari Ikben reports on Thursday's briefing by the task force.
It's already 6 months after the PTF was inaugurated to coordinate the national response against COVID-19.
We are beginning to notice that the curve is flattening. However, as we have always stated, this positive development should be taken with vigilance and cautious optimism.
On the reopening of schools,
it is no longer in our hands to decide whether Alimosho Primary School should open or not. It is the local authority there. They get to decide whether they are ready and they are prepared with all things.
It is far more important to be vigilant and to monitor symptoms. And for children where you have families that are infected, making sure that that's picked up early and the children are stopped from going to school.
To the principals, to the schools, to the authorities, no crowding, washing of hands, spacing even in the classroom and outside the classroom.
There is also advocacy for caution during the Edo governorship election.
Providing additional polling stations or booths to ensure physical distancing can be maintained with clearly marked floors and demarcation to enforce 2 meters spacing on queues, mandating the use of face masks for everyone. Regular cleaning of polling stations, tables, and other surfaces.
The task force says the ongoing joint health sector union strike is affecting the lives and health of citizens and appeals to Juhesu to call off the strike. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
For women in Nigeria, a milestone achievement has today been recorded as the Ministry of Women Affairs received recommendations on gender review of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The implication of this is more participation to fast-track good governance, equality and justice for all. Momso Demendati reports.
Indeed, it's a fulfillment of the facts by the committee put together by the Ministry of Women Affairs as they present recommendations on gender-based issues for further consideration and possible adoption in the 1999 Constitution proposed for amendment.
The Constitution of any country is the ground norm for addressing inequalities in our society. Nigerian women have played and continue to play vital roles in sustaining our communities, and they must be duly compensated. We will tack it the Constitution Nigerian women desires.
The membership of the committee comprised young women, the physically challenged, as well as several women groups.
It should be all-inclusive constitution where women and men are the same. We don't want to say man or woman. You had clearly want to say persons.
They are optimistic that the position of women will be truly captured and reflected in the final outcome. In Abuja, Momso Damien Ati, NTA News.
Fantastic. The Nigerian Air Force has reiterated commitment to sustain airstrike in the identified bandits' hideouts until normalcy is fully returned in the frontline areas of the northwest. The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, gave the assurance in Katsina while on assessment of Operation Watandaji 2, which is air interdiction operation being carried out by the Nigerian Air Force to complement Operation Hadarindaji.
The renewed strategies of security operatives in the country have led to improved situation in the fight against armed banditry and other forms of criminalities in the northwest. To consolidate on this, therefore, the Nigerian Air Force said its air interdiction operation, codenamed Operation Watandaji 2, is yielding positive results in the continued onslaught on bandits in the frontline areas. The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, who commended security operatives in the front line for living up to expectations, expressed appreciation to the federal government for its untiring effort and support towards addressing insecurity in the country.
Our objective is to make sure that banditry, as we saw it in the last few months, is brought substantially to an end.
The Chief of the Air Staff had earlier inspected the ongoing construction of 30 by 1 bedroom airmen transit accommodation located within 213 forward operating base of the Nigerian Air Force. Katsina, Shehu Adamu, NTA.
Let's now take some messages. Stay with us.
Allahumma shfi mardana warham mautana.
Say National Chairman of Grassroots Mobilizers for Buhari and Oshibajo, Ambassador Dr. Fatima Mohammed Koni, has condoled with the government and good people of Borno State, the Emirate Council in particular, and Nigerians over the demise of the Emir of Biu, His Royal Highness Alhaji Mai Mustafa Umar Aliu, while urging the family of the late Emir of Biu to take solace in the Almighty Allah. Ambassador Dr. Fatima Mohammed Koni says he propagated peace, unity and progress as evident in the peaceful and rapid development of the Biu Emirate Council. She prays Almighty Allah to repose his soul in Al-Jannah Firdaus and grant all the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss. Amen.
The Echendu family of Rumucholu community in Eneka town in Rivers State of Nigeria announced the celebration of life of our father, husband, grandfather, brother, and in-law, Elder Sam M. Mbata, aged 89. Burial arrangements, Saturday 19th September 2020, 7 a.m. lying in state. 10 a.m. funeral service, 11 a.m. interment at Elder Sam Mbata compound. May his gentle soul rest in peace. Amen. John Azuta Mbata, announcer.
Let's talk sports now. Nigeria moved 2 steps upward in latest FIFA ranking. Tamara Ebiwe has this and more on sports update.
Super Eagles move up from 31st to 29th position in the latest FIFA World Ranking released Thursday. The new ranking saw the Super Eagles occupy 3rd position in Africa behind Senegal and Tunisia. However, Super Eagles opponents in the Africa Cup of Nations 2021 qualifiers, Benin Republic, Lesotho and Sierra Leone did not make any progress in the ranking. Belgium, France, Brazil and England are all in the top 5. In the meantime, the Confederation of Africa Football, CAF, has fixed November 2020 for the commencement of the Champions League and Confederation Cup for the 2020-2021 season, with Nigeria presenting 4 teams in both continental competitions. In volleyball, 21 teams are competing at the first Taraba State Open Beach Volleyball Tournament at the Jolly Nyame Stadium, Jalingo. It is aimed at introducing the sport to youths in the Northeast Zone.
To encourage them to do sports and so that they can be employed gainfully through sports.
With this beach volleyball now, I'm sure what is happening will now draw the attention of our youth back to sporting fields.
In boxing, Nigeria's heavyweight boxer Efe Ajagba is talking tough ahead of his much-anticipated debut on Top Rank this Saturday against USA's Jonathan Rice in a 10-round fight. Ajagba has not fought since March 7, where he knocked out world title challenger Razvan Kojanu in 9 rounds. Tamara Ebiwe, NTA News.
Former president of the Association of Nigerian Theatre Practitioners and popular Nollywood veteran actor Jimo Aliyu, popularly known as Aworo, is dead. He died at the age of 85 at Ekiti State Teaching Hospital, Ado Ekiti. The body of the deceased would be moved to his residence at Olumesi Ekiti before burial. Now let's quickly check on the weather prospects.
You are welcome. It should be a cloudy affair Friday morning. We should, however, keep our eyes over Bauchi Kumbe, northern Adamawa Plateau, and northern Nasarawa axis, where there are slim prospects of a few morning rains. Most of Friday's weather should be energy-driven, and so widespread isolated thunderstorms of light proportions are expected from the afternoon period. Though these prospects are slim over Kebbi, Niger, Abuja, Taraba, Benue, Lagos, and Delta, we should all stay cloudy throughout the day.
And that's the news. I'd like to thank you for your company. I'm Joseph Johnson. See you later.